Welcome back. Ousted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad fleeing to Russia over the weekend, where he and his family were reportedly granted asylum after Islamist rebels took the capital city of Damascus. The U.S. striking dozens of known ISIS camps and operatives across the country afterwards to prevent the terrorist organization from taking advantage of the fall of Assad's regime. Here's President Biden yesterday.
At long last, the Assad regime has fallen. It's a moment of historic opportunity for the long-suffering people of Syria to build a better future for their proud country. It's also a moment of risk and uncertainty. Looking ahead, the United States will do the following. First, we'll support Syria's neighbors, including Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Israel, should any threat arise from Syria during this period of transition. I will speak with leaders of the region in the coming days, and I'll send senior officials from my administration to the region as well.
This as President-elect Trump is urging in a Truth Social post over the weekend for the United States to stay out of Syria, saying, quote, "Syria is a mess. It is not our friend, and the United States should have nothing to do with it. This is not our fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved." Joining me now is Fox News contributor, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow for China Strategy, and the author of The 100-Year Marathon, Michael Pillsbury. Michael, good to see you. Do you agree with President Trump's sentiment there in that Truth Social post, sir?
Yes, I do, Maria. I think this is a really sharp contrast, the way you showed the Biden approach to reading his teleprompter. What Biden is trying to do is the classic last 50 years of the Cold War. The U.S. to get involved in building a new Syria, putting more troops there than we already have, forming a coalition of all the neighbors. This is like a cookie-cutter approach. It's very sharp contrast to what President-elect Trump is saying, that there's really nothing here for America. Also, I think he doubts that in the case of Afghanistan, that we can occupy a country for 20 years and then lose it to the Taliban in just a few weeks. We're not competent to go into a place like Syria and rebuild it, set up a whole new state. That seems to be what Biden is actually proposing. So I can't wait till January 20th, Maria, when the clarity of President Trump's vision begins to become the policy reality.
Well, these are all very important points. I think you're spot on that, Michael. I want to get your take on the escalation between China and Taiwan, though, because Taiwan is raising its alert level after China deployed 90 Navy and Coast Guard ships in waters near the island nation ahead of the widely anticipated military drills. It was all in response to Taiwan President Lai's recent Pacific tour, which included a stopover in Hawaii. Taiwan's defense ministry said in a statement that China had restricted airspace in 7 zones off of the Fujian province, which faces Taiwan. That province is right there in front of Taiwan from today until Wednesday, Michael. Your reaction?
Well, this also is something President-elect Trump has given his views on several times, that he sees Taiwan almost as a competitor that has taken the conductor chip manufacturing business away from us. They provoke Beijing all the time. This is the current leadership in Taiwan. They're only in power by 40% of the vote. The other party, which wants kind of a reconciliation with China, its party leaders have gone to Beijing, to Xi Jinping. This party controls the parliament in Taiwan, Maria. So I think what President Trump has been saying is we don't want to get in the middle of this political fight in Taiwan between the two parties. And also, President-elect Trump has many times referred to my friend Xi Jinping. I think he's gathering the weapons, the pressure, the various things he can do to make sure that there's peace in the Taiwan Strait and not provoke China, but also not surrender. President Trump is very famous for putting the first U.S. training troops in uniforms from special forces into Taiwan, but he kept it secret. Unfortunately, Maria, the Biden people leaked it in the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and that too provoked the Chinese. They said, you can do things to defend Taiwan. They told us this privately, but just don't embarrass us and do it in public. So I think that's what President Trump's approach is going to be, not to get involved and threaten China, but to seek peace in the Taiwan Strait and make sure both parties' views on Taiwan are taken into account.
Yeah, but, you know, China continues this sort of soft attack on America every day, undermining the U.S. The FBI is now encouraging people to start texting and calling over end-to-end encryption apps. I'm talking about things like Signal or WhatsApp. After China's Salt Typhoon hacking campaign. That hacking campaign targeted dozens of telecom companies across the world, including at least 8 in the United States. Verizon was targeted, AT&T was targeted, T-Mobile was targeted. That means our texts and our phone calls are all vulnerable now that China is in our phones, Michael. The U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology, Ann Neuberger, told reporters over the weekend that the U.S. believes the Chinese hackers targeted and recorded phone calls of, quote-unquote, very senior American political figures. Who is that, Michael, do you think? And what's at stake here?
It's definitely high up people in the Trump campaign. The Chinese are just frantic to understand President Trump's thinking about them and about Taiwan. The FBI used to say, Maria, if you're related to the government or you want a security clearance, don't use Signal. Don't have an encrypted communication system on your laptop or phone. They're reversing themselves now, saying, no, we all better use Signal. I think they're right this time. I myself use it. I know a lot of Trump advisors do. The Biden administration should have revealed this 2 or 3 years ago, Maria, when they first found out. They obviously are covering up the extent to which the Chinese have penetrated. And I might say that our media, too. We're just a soft target. They can look right into what our media is covering, the discussions between the producer and the host. They know us a lot better than we know them, Maria. And frankly, it's our fault. President Trump often says, I don't blame China for this or that. It's our leaders' fault. For not protecting ourselves better.
Yeah. Let me get your take. Liz Peek, jump in here. This is the ongoing threat that never ends.
To Robin Hood.
Yeah, I think that it's incredible that China continues to hack our officials. It continues to hack our businesses. And we're still allowing TikTok to operate in our country. Maria, I think there's going to be a real test here. Do we have any will to push back against China? By the way, China just imposed sanctions and restrictions on exports of rare earths to the United States. All of these issues are coming to the forefront. I think that is a very big problem for the United States. I'm interested in Michael's view on that.
Go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Liz. I think what's happening, Liz, I think, is the president is assembling his China team, and he's looking for a balance of points of view. There are 3 famous hawks based on their speeches, Senator Marco Rubio for sure, Michael Waltz for sure, Peter Navarro for sure. That's the 3 hawks, well-known views, really think are sick and tired of taking so much abuse from China. The other side, the Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Treasury, our new ambassador designate for China, they're more on the sort of like businessmen. They've advised, in one case, George Soros, or they have been in favor of engagement with China. I think the reason the president does that, Liz, is he just wants to have a discussion right in front of himself, which he did many times in the first term, and get all the options on the table with both sides, frankly, fighting it out.
Well, you know
President
what, Michael,
Trump making the final decision.
Real quick, there's no evidence that David Perdue is going to be tough on China. That's for sure. Any reaction to David Perdue as the ambassador to China?
Yeah, I'm kind of biased because when he was a brand new senator, he bought a lot of copies of 100-Year Marathon, passed them out to other senators, made a speech, told me it explained his own failures in Asia. The Chinese are a closed market. They just won't. They treat our companies really badly. We call it gangsterizing our companies. That's the one thing David Perdue wants to do, Maria, is get better treatment for our companies in China. But he's not a super hawk, that's for sure.
Yep, exactly. Michael, great to talk with you. Thanks very much. Michael Pillsbury weighing in there.